Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Training Industry Leader Talk, Personalized Learning Experiences, sponsored by Acorn, Whatfix, Adobe, InfoPro Learning, and Allego. I'm Emma, a marketing associate here at Training Industry, and I'm so happy you could join us today. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items to go over to help you interact with our speaker and get the most out of today's program. Throughout the event, please feel free to use the chat window to interact with our speaker and add any comments. If you have questions, you can submit them by clicking on the Q&A icon in your toolbar. We'll address all the comments and questions throughout the event or at the end of the program during the Q&A section. At the end of your time with us, you'll notice a short survey will pop open in your browser. We'd really appreciate your feedback on today's event. And as always, all of our sessions are being recorded and they're archived on trainingindustry.com. And as an attendee, you will receive an email follow up with a link to the on-demand recordings. If this is your first Training Industry Leader Talk, we'd like to welcome you. Training Industry exists to make connections among learning and development professionals. We offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D through live events like today's Leader Talk, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, our podcast, and more. We'd also love to hear about what you've learned from today's session on social media, so please follow us on your favorite platforms so we can continue the conversation. Now, without any further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our speakers, Nolan and Adam. Nolan is a dynamic leader in the learning and development industry, currently serving as a Senior Vice President of Growth at InfoPro Learning, where he helps drive the company's vision of becoming the foremost talent development partner for global brands. And with a 19-year veteran of the learning and development industry, Adam brings a wealth of experience to his role as Director of Learning and Client Experiences at InfoPro Learning. We're so excited to have you both. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Emma.
Thanks for having us. All right, Adam, do you want to go ahead and start sharing your screen and we'll get this webinar underway?
Let's go, yeah.
And as Adam is doing that, do want to say, I want this to be as interactive as we can. We do have quite a bit of content to go through. So we're going to try to get through all of it. We're going to kind of breeze by some things and go through some things really quickly because we want to give you a good overview of a lot of things that we're leveraging today versus going into a super deep dive on any one thing. Do let us know, comment in the chat. Ask a question. If we don't get to it during the call, we promise we'll shoot you an update afterwards. Today, this is really what we're going to be talking about: increasing personalization without increasing costs. Right? Who likes to do more with less? Is that something that anybody here has ever heard? Like do more with less? Maybe. Before we get into the topic, though, I just want to do a quick 1 minute about InfoPro Learning. Who are we? If you haven't heard of us before. InfoPro Learning's been in this space, and I just lost the screen there, Adam, the PowerPoint slide.
Sorry. There you go. And we are back.
Great. Let's go to the next slide.
There you go.
So who are we? InfoPro Learning. You can see there all the different services we provide. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. Safe to say, if you have a project in which you're trying to empower your workforce, you're trying to get your people to do something, whether those people are colleagues, their employees, their clients, we can help you develop those training programs. With that, let's go ahead and get into the session. Adam, I'll take it over to you, then I'll kind of bop in here and there throughout the way.
Thanks, Nolan. So yeah, I suppose the first question following what Nolan said there, and it's a rhetorical one really, but the question really is, does personalization have to be expensive? No, from the title and the subtitle of this session, the answer is no. But for a long time, the answer was definitively yes. It meant bespoke courses, more trainers, complex software. But the landscape has definitely changed, and today what we're going to do is explore how that's happened. What we're going to do is cover 4 sections and topics in total, really. First of all, we're going to look at how to turn any learning asset you already have into a dynamic and blended experience. We're going to cover how to maximize ROI by repurposing a single piece of content into a full campaign. Now, this doesn't have to be an enormous campaign. It can be a micro campaign, an upskill, reskill, whatever it could be, but we'll touch upon that. Thirdly, we're going to look at the future with AI. Now, everybody probably had that on their bingo card, so congratulations to everybody. But we're going to look at something really important, which is how to put the person in personalization with AI coaches. And then finally, we're going to look at how to design self-sustaining learning that refreshes and grows with your learners and with your audiences as well. But to get us started, I want to understand kind of who's in the room, and I want to launch our first poll, if I could, please. You should see that on your screen now, hopefully.
Yep, we got it.
And what the question is what is your biggest barrier to implementing personalized learning experiences? And we can see some of those coming in now, whether it's budget cost, time, technology, or lack of know-how.
While they're answering, the first question, Adam, is that a Yorkshire accent?
It is not, no, it's a hybrid of Manchester and just outside Manchester. So yeah, Oasis fever has hit. So it's not a Liam Gallagher or Noel Gallagher impression at the moment.
All right, we got most of our answers in. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll and share the results with everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, interesting. So budget and cost came out at top at 33%. Surprisingly, time at 13 was the lowest as well, and closely following budget cost is technology and lack of know-how. So yeah, quite interesting ones there. So let's move on to the first topic, should I say? Let me just shut that down from my screen. And that is turning any assets into a blended experience. What I want to talk about first of all is a problem really, and for many learners, it's what some of us in my studio call the black screen, and it's generic learning, a module that feels as though straight away the learner's going to disengage, and the moment that ultimately they think that this is not for me, this is a waste of time. And it's our job as learning and leading professionals to turn those lights on from the get-go, really. So an example of that, I just want to give a quick one, is mandatory data security training, something that doesn't automatically scream excitement when it comes to these learning solutions. And say, for example, it's the start of the financial year and a company's rolling out that mandatory annual data security learning module to all 5,000 of their employees. Now, within that, you're inevitably going to have people that are tenured for many, many years. They're high-performing members of the team, and they've been with the company for such a long time, and all they receive is an automated email, the same as a new graduate that's just been hired in marketing, for example. That person clicks that link and the module begins, and the first section is titled, "What is personal data?" And they then have to sit through 5 minutes of basic definitions that they've known for pretty much their entire career. And this is the moment that that black screen appears for them. They immediately disengage, they think it's not for me, and whilst the module plays, they're either in the background answering emails, checking sales dashboards, planning client calls, or if it's a digital module, furiously clicking next as quick as they can to get to the end. And what's the result in that? Well, the result from the learning management system, learner experience platform, whatever you want to call it, is that that person has 100% completed it. And from a compliance point of view, the company's ticked the box. However, what that hasn't done is essentially meet the needs of that senior role of that individual. So it's not looked at things such as how to or how not to negotiate large contracts over public Wi-Fi networks, sophisticated phishing attacks that target senior executives. That one-size-fits-all approach has created a false sense of security, and it's wasted the time of an expensive and experienced employee. And that's the true cost of that black screen, as I like to talk about. But what we can do is move from static and move to dynamic. And the answer isn't always to create something new as well. It's to wrap experience around things that you already have. So as an example, we've got a PDF there up on the screen as a large icon. And we start with that simple PDF document. But instead of emailing that out to somebody as a cascade of information, we can build a whole experience around that. And it's about blending self-serve content with low effort into high impact interactions. So think of a kickoff email with a key question that's in there to really get them engaged from the get-go. It could be a short team huddle that follows that, and a self-assessment quiz as well with a follow-up video summary after that PDF's been consumed. And what that does is use tools that we as organizations already own to really create something that's a compelling journey as well. And to drill down into that a little bit more, I want to look at that digital module, as we'll call it for this instance as well. And what we could have done before that is create a personalized approach, which really allows for true personalization. It imagines that that mandatory data security training is, instead of being a course that's for everybody, it's a personalized assessment that starts that off. From that, what we can do then is see what the real aims or what the real areas of opportunity are for that one particular individual. And it could be that they're completely up to date, as the purple box says there. They know all the core principles, and what they really need to do is just consume a 2-minute video on the key policy updates for this year. So whether that's the organization or whether that's things that have come out from particular bodies that look over these sorts of areas. Otherwise, it could be that they need to concentrate on those phishing scams, as it's got there in the bottom grey box. And that assessment has identified those areas, and they only head to that particular topic to look at, and then they redo that assessment as well to show that they have truly understood that topic. And what that does, it respects the time and the expertise of the individuals within the organization. It targets the actual business risks as well, which is really important. And it also achieves that learning outcome in under 5 minutes in this particular example here. So we can see already that that return on investment is going to be exponentially larger than it would be if somebody's got to go through that particular standardized pathway that they always have to do as well. So talking about return on investment, one of the things that we can do once we've got those richer assets that I've mentioned there is how do we get the most out of them? And that brings us to this next topic, which is maximizing that ROI by repurposing content. And I want to talk about 2 different approaches that we have before Nolan takes over and shows how we can do this as well. So the first one is the pillar content model, which we've really touched upon there. That could be anything from, for example, this webinar. That could be the key pillar in it. And from this webinar, we could create infographics, short video clips, how-to guides, and even follow-up email series as well to really drive this as to be an actual program that builds around one particular asset. What it does, it dramatically saves cost because it maximizes that initial investment that we've done. For example, this webinar. So you only really do the hard work once, and then you adapt that from that core piece of learning information. And crucially for the personalization bit, which we're talking about today, it offers learners choice. Some of them want videos, some of them want those how-to guides, and it caters to everybody's preference using the same core content. Looking on the right-hand side there, the second model, that's regenerative learning assets. And this takes a wholly different approach, which some organizations that I've worked with in the past really see as, possibly quite scary as well. Because instead of L&D creating the assets, this is about building an ecosystem that feeds itself. The core idea here is around learning that sustains itself through learner participation. So the goal is to build and facilitate communities of practice, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail further on in this session, where learning becomes collaborative, it becomes an ongoing activity, and people seek out their peers' inputs and their real kind of expertise, and they then in turn start sharing theirs as well. And in the workplace, that can be anything from a dedicated channel on internal chat systems, whether it's Slack, whether it's Teams, and it can be where people can ask the questions and share solutions as well. And L&D then just look at it more from dipping in and out to making sure that what we are sharing as these communities of practice is wholly correct as well. What that learning does is it becomes part of the daily workflow as well. And I've talked quite a lot now, so Nolan, over to you. I'll let you talk about this next section.
Yeah, let me share my screen here for just a second so we can dig into that. All right, well, it's not letting me share my sound, even though it just did right before this.
Let's try this, Nolan. Yeah. I don't know if that will help.
Let's see. Let me retry. No, that's okay. We'll have to go without. Sure. Okay. So what I'm going to showcase here, and I'll play a little bit of sound just to see if you can get it. Let's see if it comes through, even though I didn't press it. Another great way to. Can you hear that or no, Adam?
Not very well.
Okay, that's okay. We don't need it for this, and I'll try to get it fixed by the end, and we'll share these slides with you. So a really great way to repurpose content, as Adam said, is through this tool, Notebook L&amp. This is a product by Google. Really simple, easy to use tool. It really is all centered around this idea of leveraging a document, right? We talked about taking a PDF and turning that into many things. We're going to showcase that in a couple different ways later on, but I'll showcase one really easy here. So what I've done is I've taken this 50-page document on global skills taxonomy. The World Economic Forum put out this big paper on it. And when I load that in there, it's going to give me a short summary here. Now, there's a lot of things that I can do with that once I've done it. Once I've loaded it into this tool called Notebook LM. And again, this is free for most people to use. The first thing that it really does is summarize, but then I can create like a podcast out of this. And it allows me to customize that podcast however I want. So over here, you can see right now it's set up for two different hosts. If I want it to just be one-sided, like more of an audio book of me talking to the person, I can even add some notes in here. Do I want it to be really short? Do I want it to be really long? I can even add in some text here. I'm going to say, spend extra time up front giving an overview. We talked about, when Adam says some people leave early. Hey, I think some people might leave this early. If they do, I at least want them to capture the basics of it. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time up front doing that. So what that's going to do is that's going to take this 50-page document and turn that into an e-learning, or sorry, like an audio learning sample. Again, the same piece of content, but giving another way to personalize it for those that like to listen. The other thing that I can do to rapidly kind of regenerate lots of different assets is creating something called a mind map. It's a really cool feature. It takes the core document and it creates lots of different subjects here. So this is the main thing that I loaded. And then here's all the things off to the right. Now imagine when you're creating a training program, if it's something large, this might have just done your job of building out your content map, right? Of like, what are the modules within this program that I'm going to want to talk about? And all I have to do is click into each one of these things. I can click into global forum. And what it's going to produce the same type of document. Here off to the left, it's going to give me an overview of what that is. I can then take that as my course outline and start creating content for that. I can drill down as deep as I want. I can stay as high level as I want. The other really cool thing that it can do is when I get to the bottom here, I can save all these things to notes. So again, imagine this is I don't know, like a 70-page document on a product, and you're wanting to wrap your mind around it without having to read all 70 pages. You can really quickly do some of this diving, save some of these notes, and then use that to create your course outlines to actually create your content. I can even ask it to do things in here like create a voice script that talks me through it. And then this one right here, generate FAQs. I think this is a wonderful tool that's highly underutilized. A lot of times when we have training programs, end of the day, what people are going to reference is just the FAQs, right? They're like, well, okay, show me how to do X or show me how to do Y. Really cool tool. You just click FAQs, and then it's going to open up a series of FAQs. It's scanning your document and loading in what are the questions, what are the answers. Just a really remarkable way, again, in a very short amount of time to create a lot of different assets using the same piece of technology. So over to you, Adam, to share the rest, and I'll see if I can get the sound working for the next one.
Okay, so let's get back up and running. So before we move on to the next section, it's time for our second quiz, or our second poll, I should say. So for your learners, which repurpose format do you feel would be the most engaging? And whilst you're filling that in, I've got a little stat as well. I always like to put a stat in every now and again. So one here is through some LinkedIn research, and that showed that the number one challenge for L&D professionals is, and this is why I was surprised at the results of the first one, is getting employees to make time for their learning, which is why those micro learning assets that we're really focusing on today, I think, created from that pillar content, can really be powerful in addressing this sort of thing as well.
All right, we've got most people responded. I'm going to give you guys 5 more seconds, and then I'll end it and share those results. All right, there they are.
Okay. So, short videos, yeah, I feel we're seeing that really grow to such a large extent, especially with some of the really accessible tools. And again, I don't want to spoil anything from what Nolan's going to show, but we're going to dip into that in a little bit more detail soon. Interactive quizzes, I think, yes, there's definitely some really good platforms that can do that. Whether it's in the moment knowledge checks, or whether it's something to really keep building upon knowledge that's been looked at and really start to help retain it. I think that's definitely one as well. And yeah, infographics and visual guides. Yeah, I think everything there is good. Short email tips. I think that's something that really isn't used. So I'm not surprised to see only 2% there. But yeah, some interesting results there as well. So let's move on to the next section then. So this is around putting the person in personalization with AI coaches. And I want to talk about 2 different sections here. And the first one
Did you
is...
want to share your screen, Adam,
Oh,
or
not
do you want
sharing
to?
it.
No.
Oh, oh no. Let's have a look. Are we back on now?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, great. Makes far more sense if people know what I'm talking about on the screen, doesn't it? So let's have a look at this next section. So this is about AI tone of voice, and this could be one of 2 things we can be talking about. We could be talking about things such as avatars and things like that, and the way that they are speaking. In this way, I'm talking about things such as small language models and the way that we prompt responses from AI to actually give end users some of the responses back that we'd want them to get as well, and defining the personality that we want them to do as well. So character and style is the most important thing. You've got to ask yourself, do you need it to be authoritative, like a compliance expert? Do we need it to be inquisitive and supportive, more akin to a mentor? And getting this right is key, because it's how you build trust and it's how you encourage people to engage with the tools that we're building for them. And it's not just a gimmick. It directly impacts how employees are going to trust and engage with the tool. And a generic AI voice can be spotted a mile off now. We can see when somebody's used content that's come out of ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whichever one is the go-to LLM that particular person uses. And essentially that generic AI voice creates generic experiences. So you've got to really look at what it is that you want to personalize, and whether that's personalization that's authoritative, as we've mentioned, because that builds up that trust and engagement. And there's 2 ways that you can look at it as well. It's whether it's for the organization, which is more low cost, but it's high impact with regards to, the activity, training that AI on your own company's data, providing it with brand guidelines, value statements, examples of internal communication and creating a voice that basically feels uniquely part for your culture. What we've also seen more people do and have more interest in is enabling the AI to adapt its tone to particular end users, whether that's the job role that they have, whether that's the experience that they have within the organization or the industry as well. And that subtle shift is essentially what makes the interaction feel genuinely personal and respectful of that individual's particular context as well. So, what I want to do is just show an example. Well, in fact, Nolan can show an example of this. Nolan, do you want me to play the video and you talk around it, or do you want to share your screen again?
I'll share my screen again, and because I'm going to see. This is my second attempt now, to see if I can get audio. But can you stop sharing for a second?
Yeah, no problem. There you go.
Alrighty. Let's see. Share to. Oh, and here I am. Now we've got sound. So a really great way for personalization that we've found is through like AI coaching. When you think of personalization at scale, a really big thing is like, how can you create one-to-one experiences? That's really, really tough. Nobody has enough content to replicate everything. Really hard to do. So how do we do it? One of those is through these, what we have created as a leadership coach. Now, this is our leadership coach. You can use any, Gen AI tool. But the interesting thing about our tool that we've created is it overcomes some really common boundaries that people have when they're trying to use generative AI. And that's, what do I say to it? How do I prompt it to give me the right answer? So the thing that's a little bit unique about our tool is that we have all these prompts built in. So as an example, this is saying, hey, Nolan, what do I want to do? And I'm just going to say, well, give me a quick coaching session. I just want to learn a little bit more. And it's going to say, what's on your mind? I need help motivating my team, right? This is a common problem for a lot of us. And then, the specific problem is our company is having a tough financial year and we had to let some people go. But a big difference here when we talk about creating personalized learning, if you looked at some of the other Gen AI tools used, like the one I just showed with Notebook, LM, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they are designed to give you an answer. They're not designed to teach you. They just want to give you, you ask, they answer. Leveraging AI, we can actually have these tools and we can configure these tools in a way to say, don't just give him an answer, right? I'm saying, I need help. And it's going to say, well, tell me a little bit about what's going on. Let me better understand what your world looks like so that I can help you explore what these issues are. So it really is forcing the user to take a step back and better understand their problem instead of just very cheaply giving an answer. Because as we found is that if all our tools ever do is just give person an answer, they never actually learn that. And it's important that we learn these skills because we're not always going to have a bot right next to us to do this. We're going to be having conversations with people and we want them to learn this better the next time around. So here I put the problem is I think they're instructional designers. They think that their job's going to be replaced with AI. And it says, well, instead of doing that, reframe it actually, right? AI can generate content, but it can't understand learning psychology like you do. We need to become our AI prompt engineers and quality controllers. So really cool things you can do with personalization when you start embedding and looking at these AI coaches and these AI agents, because they truly are a one-to-one personalization. I'm also going to do something cool. They can even have voice. So if again, some people really like to use voice, like when they're in the car or whatever it is, they're on their commute, or maybe they just don't want to type. I'll just show a really short sample.
Place can be a difficult conversation. It's important to approach the situation.
Talk to somebody about I have to talk to somebody about constantly coming in late to the office.
I understand that addressing tardiness in the workplace can be a difficult conversation. It's important to approach the situation in a professional and empathetic manner. You might want to schedule a private meeting with the person and express your concerns about their punctuality. It's helpful to listen
And
to
so
their
it will go on, and I'll continue to have this conversation. But again, some of the key takeaways are, by leveraging this tool, you can have Nolan have 24/7 access to learning when and where I want. And I think Adam started at the beginning with like, what was it, the black screen, I think, is what he said, and the comments on there is like, this isn't for me. Well, when you're talking to somebody, it's really hard to say this isn't for me, because it's giving you answers to what you are asking. So it really helps remove that of, oh, I don't think this is really going to give me the answer I want.
Okay. Shall I take back over now, Nolan?
Yeah.
Okay. What I did see in the chat as well is a question from Lai around gamification as well, and how beneficial that could be. What I did whilst you were talking there, Nolan, is just put some existing content and people managers, and we had some existing content that I put in there. What I then asked it to do is just look at that and give an overall approach as to the content that's already existing and how we should be delivering that with regards to gamified elements. And it's given an overall approach there. It's given some platforms as well, which is great, content ideas, and also justifications as well. I've then followed that up with what are the key benefits of this approach if we needed to speak to people and get some particular buy-in as well. And again, it's popped up with some ideas there. So it's giving us that foundation really to really, get something underway, and then we can add that human element that no one's just spoken about there as well. So it's amazing how quickly these things can really, speed up the process, and how quickly they're evolving themselves as well. So let me go back to the presentation as well. And I want to talk about avatars next as well, because that's something else that we're seeing, some real kind of growth in with regards to the multimedia that we've talked about before. It came up as the most popular option in the poll as well. And I think this is something that's really important as well, because if we're wanting to give personalized approaches, but to large demographics, it's very important that we make sure that it appeals to as many people as possible. And it's a very quick way to get people that are on screen talking to people in a tone of voice that we've touched upon previously, and also people that reflect the brand values and the people that reflect the workforce of these particular organizations as well. What the benefits are of this within L&D, as we can see there, we've got the fact that there's so many personalized avatars for organizations. We can use stock avatars. We can also use ones from our own faces as well. That's done very, very quickly. It's amazing how quickly we can put those together. And you, as an individual, can be talking to your audiences to really drill home that content, but it's done much more quickly. And it can also then be localized into, up to 30, 35 languages, depending on the platform you want to use as well. As well as that as well, the content is completely editable. So talking about those multiple languages, if you wanted to then convert a particular slide because it didn't apply anymore, or it needed to be updated, that can be done really quickly as well. And that human can still then be talking in all those languages in a matter of minutes, rather than the cost and the time delay of getting human voiceovers done there. And then it's really up to you to look at the phonetics to make sure that those words, those pronunciations are where they should be, and they're correct for the geographies that we're talking about as well. So that's something else that we're seeing a big growth area, and something that I think is really beneficial to get those, those quick wins when it comes to creating content. And again, Nolan, I know you want to kind of talk through this as well, so I'll stop sharing and hand back over to you.
Yeah, I'm excited to share this because there were some questions about Synthesia and how to use, people using Synthesia. This is a tool called Colossian, similar to Synthesia in many ways. So happy to kind of be able to address it. As as Adam was saying, this tool is a really simple way, and I think it accomplishes many things, right? We talked about how to do more video. This is really simple. I'm going to take that same document, so that same document that I loaded in Notebook LM to create a podcast and to create FAQs. I'm going to put it in here. I want to create a shortened version of this document. I just want a high level overview, summary points, dig into it. And I want it to be, how long do I want this video to be? Do I want it to be 10 minutes? No, nobody watches a 10-minute video. Let me take up 5 minutes. What design do I want to do? I can customize this however I want, right? So obviously if we're using it, you're going to customize everything here. Now, what I can do, we talked about editing, right? Editing becomes like a nightmare when we do videos. Here you're going to see, I want this to be timely. I want to let people know that maybe if they take it next year, since things are changing so quickly, I want to update this and I want to say in 2025. That's just going to make it a lot easier. Now let me play it. Let me see what it's going to say.
Are you prepared for a workforce revolution where skills trump traditional job roles? This presentation explores how companies in 2025 are prioritizing.
So again, in a matter of seconds, I was able to edit that transcript. The other thing I can do within a tool like Colossian is it's using like a combination of stock video. So it's going to find a bunch and load them in to be what they think is going to work for you. But it's really simple. If I want to replace what that video looks like, I can access their library. And here we're talking about skills. The keyword it was going to use was challenge. I'm actually going to here talk about mentorship though. Oh, look, I see this one here on basketball players. I'm going to click on that. And again, this is all like, I'm not a graphic artist person, nor like extremely technical. So I want the video to just match the screen. So however long that video is, I want it to speed up or slow down based off of just whatever my input there. And so clicking this one button does that for me automatically. So now this is going to sync with my text. It's going to slow down. And here there's some audio. No, I already skipped it. And this next one, maybe I don't want an avatar talking, right? That was my avatar. Maybe I just want an icon, really simple. Like you just go to the images, copy and paste it, and we're good to go. Again, really simple. I got another one here. You can see we're using avatars. This avatar is in the top right, but I don't really love how this text looks. So I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. Again, all a really simple DIY kind of tool. This is, again, use Colossian. Synthesia is also really, really good. I don't really, we have a little bit of skin in the game, if I'm being honest, because we are enterprise partners with Colossian and I know the CEO, but like, if you're using Synthesia, also a really cool tool for you to use it. But even these avatars, these little bubbles, like I'm like, I don't really love how it's purple. I'm going to change it to black. I don't like black either. I'll make this little light gray to make that look a little bit better. And so I've created my video, right? But like many times, once we're done creating the video, maybe this avatar, this person that we were using, right? So this was the avatar. This person was going to be talking. Maybe they left the company because we created this avatar based off of a person. Okay, well, I need to replace that person now because it's kind of awkward that that person isn't here. Let me just replace that with a different avatar that I'm going to create. Let me find one that works. I'll load in Ashley too. And now I'm going to switch the avatar. So now this person is completely different and it's going to change the voice. It's going to change the look and feel. We talked about translation here at the end. I think I don't think I talked about it there. But you can also change the voice at any point as well. So when you come in here and you're switching in this top right, you can see whatever default you want to change it to. Just as a quick like sample, this is what it sounds like.
Are you prepared for a workforce revolution where skills trump traditional jobs? Required to thrive change rapidly. Companies now prioritize skills to remain competitive and agile. It also promotes diversity, equity, education, and employment.
So you can see a little bit of what it looks like at every stage. Now, I think the point here is not necessarily like if you were to ask me, I don't think like that's the best video. Absolutely don't. But I created that in 10 minutes. And if I spent a little bit more time, I could create a much, much better video. But but keep in mind, all of that video, the text, the transcript, the voiceover, the visuals, all I did was load a PDF document into it. I didn't do anything. I just said, create a training program that's 5 minutes long based off of this document. So yes, it's good and it will do this, but this is where the human element comes in. This is where you are so important. This tool is going to help you do this job a lot faster, but it still requires you to tie the bow on it. If you're looking for a tool, whether you're using Colossian, whether you're using Synthesia, you still are super important in that. You are an important person in the role of tying a bow around that. Adam, we only have like 5 minutes left here. Maybe should we just maybe we'll skip the self-learning and open it up to questions. Before we do that, and I'll just share one last screen because I kind of promised people that I would give them something. And this is very, very crude of how I did this. So at InfoPro Learning, one of the big things that we're about is results and hands-on, right? I think you saw through this video, hopefully, that we're a very hands-on company and like to show exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it. This is a program that we offer for $10,000. You can see we actually take one asset and we create 4 different modalities for you. We found that a lot of organizations are just struggling with getting started. And what we found is that if we show them the proof of it, if we're able to say, look what we can do and look how fast we can do it, everybody gets on board. I used like a pen tool, so I just scratched that out and put $1,000. So if anybody is interested, I'll put my information here in the chat. Drop me an email, reference this webinar so that can we can make sure that you get it at that rate. With that though, I'll stop kind of the sales pitch and give it back. I don't know how many questions we have. I'll just kind of come through here. I see one from Carissa. You can create an avatar based on a real person. Yes, you load in a couple different images, a video, and use your voice as well. So it will take not only the person's look, but also their voice. Really, really good if you're trying to create impact for a training program that's not mandatory, right? That's always a big struggle. If you make your CEO the avatar, it's really hard to ignore that person because they realize that the CEO has approved that message. But we all know that actually getting the CEO to sit down in front of a video screen and do the voice or whatever is super, super hard to do. So really good tool for that. And please do any questions you have through. I'll see if I can find any others. Can this video then be exported to an LMS? Absolutely. That's one of the cool things that I really like about Colossian is I feel like the gentleman has really, Dominic, who is the CEO, has really taken this path of wanting to focus in the L&D industry. It's really a good learner's tool. Like a lot of the tools that we use are meant for like marketing and graphic artists and sales, and they're just repurposed for learning. This one really seems like it has learning at the core, so you can absolutely export those, put those in your LMS. Let's see.
I think I saw one, Nolan, around Axonify from Tamara. Does Axonify do the job for individual learning? I'd say so. Yes, I think the purpose of it around that kind of micro learning and breaking down complex topics is exactly what we've been talking about in this session. So yeah, I think that's really useful as well. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think, definitely feel free if you have any questions. We'll hang out here for a couple more minutes. I'm going to drop my couple things here in the chat. That's my LinkedIn. If you did want to message and participate in that pilot program, shoot an email and again, just reference that. And the last little bit, I'll just tell you, I'm in a couple weeks, actually, into this month, I'm doing another session that's really about streamlining the back office of L&D, a fairly high level strategic like strategy. I know that's really front and center. Training industry has a strategy event that we're going to go to in a couple months. So really timely. So if you're looking for some more content from us, feel free to check that out. Oh, you're on mute.
I am. Hi. I was just saying thank you all so much. It's been a great session. You're getting a lot of kudos in the chat. This has been great.
Lovely. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, everyone. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right, everyone. So we have a 15-minute break, and then our final session will be with David and Melissa from Allego. Their session is called Why Continuous Learning is the Key to Sales Success and How to Get It Right. In just a minute, I'm going to end this session. You can join the next session by going back to the event lobby and joining the Sessions tab. I hope to see you all there. Thank you.